The Road to Mutant Mayhem. Oh my God. It's another episode. We're talking about another movie because it's another episode. This, say it with me, is one of my favorite TMNT movies of all time. That's right. I'm saying it again because it's true. Once again, I think a lot more of you are going to agree with me this time. Now listen, this movie's a flawed masterpiece. I don't know how much of the negative we're going to get into, but I know we have a heck of a lot of positive to say. So I'm going to let the people that are here with me introduce themselves once again because they're the stars of the show for The Road to Mutant Mayhem. Not me. I'm just your host, Geekily. So guys, go ahead and take it away. I'm passing the torch on to you.
Jigwave, Kieran here, aka That Irish Geek, big time Turtles fan. I was here on the last episode, and now I'm here on this episode, talking about what I also agree is probably the best Ninja Turtles movie of all time, and I will fight you for this point.
Hi, I'm Madison, but everyone calls me Maddie. I am also a devoted Turtles fan. I love the Turtles. I'm just honored to be here. I'm a nerdy girl who adores this franchise, and I can't wait to dive into this movie because it's a flawed masterpiece, like everybody else has been saying.
Hi, I'm Alex, and I go by Team D Summer Streams by Alex, and I've been a Ninja Turtles fan since 2012. I'm so excited to see where this one goes.
Let's begin the epic TMNT 2007 presentation, hosted by Maddie. Go ahead, take it away.
Thank you so much, Geekly. I'm honored as usual. So this was the one that started it all for me when I was a kid. For my 8th birthday, I asked my dad if I could see this in movies. I begged and begged and begged and begged and begged him to see it. And he ended up taking me and my brother to see it while my mom and my sister saw something else. At the time, I thought this was the coolest TMNT movie. It got me into the franchise as a kid. It got me into a little bit of the 2003 show. I ended up watching like 1 or 2 episodes of the original 1987 show. But fast forward 16 years later, I'm an adult who analyzes movies just for fun. And
fast forward.
Man, no, that's awesome, dude. Oh man. This movie's got some flaws, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have any great qualities. In fact, some of the most iconic scenes in the TMNT history come from this movie alone. And I think we should discuss some of that right now. So, as you can see, this pros and cons list is pretty evened out for once. It will not stay this way, I promise.
I'll make sure of it. I'm kidding.
No. So for a 2007 film, this animation holds up incredibly well.
True.
Imagi Studios may have just started out, but damn, for a first-time big project such as this, it really paid off. Like, the lighting and camera work in particular deserves special mention here because they really pulled off some really badass action shots.
Absolutely.
One such instance that I can think of is Mikey's skating scene when we see him go into the sewer.
The camera work.
Right?
Insane.
Yeah, and the song choice as well with, what was it? I think it was Jets, Rip It Up. Like, brilliant, like, song choice for Mikey.
Like,
I will gush about this film soundtrack at some point.
Oh, it's so cool. Oh,
yeah, as you were saying.
This is cutting ahead a little, but you can also geek out about it because number 4 is actually the score.
Yes. Okay.
Oh my
God. Sorry to hijack it. Okay. It is the most iconic like Turtles score in my opinion. It is the score I associate with Turtles, and props to Klaus Badelt who did it all. Who I may remind you gave us the score for Pirates of the Caribbean: Curse of the Black Frickin' Pearl. So this guy knows bombastic soundtracks. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I was gonna say even aside from just the film's OST, the soundtrack, the needle drops are also really well placed and really thought out. Like even the songs tailor-made for this movie. Gym Class Heroes, Shell Shock, my God.
Yes.
So the next pro I have is Raphael. He is the saving grace of this movie. And there's a reason why fans refer to this version as the definitive Raph. Like, Nolan North literally defined Raphael as a character.
Absolutely.
Like, I appreciate every single other Raphael voice actor. Like, I love Sean Astin with all my heart. I can never, ever put down a Lord of the Rings veteran We love Sean Astin in this house. And special mention to the voice actors / motion capture artist behind Raph in the 2014 movie, because he actually did an amazing job. Alan Richardson, that's him. Nolan North just does a phenomenal job. He does everything right as Raph. He pulls off the wit, the sarcasm, the charm, the anger. Oh my God. There's times in this movie where I sit back and I go, I'm actually kind of scared of Raph. Like, I could never take him in a fight.
Well, I was actually going to say, in terms of vocal performance, yeah, I agree. One of my favorite Raphaels of all time. And if you had any doubt, which I highly doubt there's anyone that did have any doubt, listen to that I Love Being a Turtle at the end of the movie.
Yes.
Come on
Brilliant
now.
way to end off the film. I did, meet Nolan North at a convention recently at Dublin Comic-Con. Yes, I got...
What was he like?
He was so nice. Such a nice guy. He had a great panel as well. I got my original DVD copy of this movie signed by him, and he made like the offhand joke of like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm happy that you like got this movie on DVD because it means I got probably a paycheck from this. So it's good to hear that he's still getting like was it royalties from
royalties?
It. And like when you meet him at conventions, like he will like it's not like the classic, con scene where like you go up, you get an autograph, you get a picture, and like that's about it. Like he will like chat with you for a good deal of time while you're there. So it's like not just like one and done, like just like every single fan. Like no, he spends time with you. So he's like one of the nicest like voice actors that I've met in recent memories at a convention. So yeah,
awesome,
so cool. Ooh, speaking of voice actors, Mako, aka
Splinter.
Uncle Iroh,
Rest in peace.
Splinter?
Yeah,
Yes, rest in peace.
He did an amazing performance. Like his version of Splinter sounds so wise and funny at times. I think my favorite bit is like it was the morning after Leo comes back and he talks about so-and-so breaking up with Donna, and then the news comes on.
Yeah, he's a fan of Gilmore Girls, which I love.
He watches soap operas.
Also, props to, I believe, Greg Baldwin, I think, is like his understudy for like who picked up after Mako on Splinter's lines, and I think also may have picked up for his role on Avatar as well.
Just across the board, Theo was great. This is one of my favorite Donnies. He barely gets anything to do, but he's one of my favorites. Michelangelo, come on now. We already talked about Raph.
I was gonna say, like, on the topic of like turtle voices, the funny thing I find with like how they cast the turtles is Leonardo is voiced by James Arnold Taylor, and Michelangelo is voiced by Mikey Kelly. And if you're a fan of Ratchet and Clank, you know how awkward that recording session must have been, because like Mikey Kelly voiced Ratchet in the first game, and then James took over for him on the rest of the franchise going forward.
Hey buddy, how's my job?
Pretty much, yeah.
And Nolan North playing Krang in the 2012 series, and then the Plan 10 episode. That was funny.
Yeah.
They really had to fight like tooth and nail to like keep some of the like voice cast they had in here, because obviously this is a point I'm just going to bring up at some point, but one of the main flaws with this film, to like jump into cons just for a brief second, the Weinstein Company's involvement. Like just on top, like for one of like, the fact that his name is on the movie kind of sullies it a bit, but also just like the executive meddling behind the scenes. Like I looked into like some of the original script. There was going to be some more like darker elements that would have leaned less towards the more kid-friendly nature the film ended up being in the final cut. But also the fact that like with Warner Brothers and the Weinstein Company, they like tried to force in like the celebrity like cast, like, so that's how we ended up getting stuff like Chris Evans as Casey Jones and Sarah Michelle Gellar as April O'Neil.
Listen, you think kids would buy tickets to see a Ninja Turtles movie based on the Turtles alone? No. You need to sell this movie with the Human Torch and Buffy. That's how you get butts and seats. Come on now. That's how you get butts and seats to a Turtles movie.
Chris Evans needs to add one more comic book character to his totem pole of roles.
Oh my god!
I believe Peter Laird was like the one who like actually legitimately like fought like, no, okay, if we're gonna do this, the Turtles need to be cast by people who like are not only seasoned voice actors, but like not like, you know, going to be immediately recognizable. Like, I think I made this comment on a previous episode, but like if we get like Leonardo DiCaprio voicing Leonardo, it's like we don't see Leonardo, we see the actor playing Leonardo.
Yeah,
exactly.
There comes a point to a project where you're only seeing the actor and not. Ooh, there's a good example I have in the back of my head. Oh, wait, I think I got it. Have you guys ever heard of this really obscure Christmas movie called The Nutcracker: An Untold Story?
Yes.
I think so.
Yes.
Wait, I think I might know what the one you're talking about. Was it kind of like disturbing in various places?
Yes. And
Okay,
you're
I know
talking
what
to
you're talking
someone who
about.
saw it in theaters as a kid for a school trip.
Oh,
So
Jesus.
there comes a point where you're not seeing it for the movie, you're seeing it for the actors involved, like Ella Fanning. The guy who played the Rat King was in a few Transformers movies at the time. The guy who played the dad, he was also a really big actor at the time. There were just countless celebrities in that movie, and it comes to a point where it's like it's so distracting because they're either overacting or they're as bland as cardboard. Like, no hate towards them at all.
Yeah.
But like, damn, that movie was awful.
Shall we
Ooh.
get back to like the PowerPoint main points?
Yes,
Yeah.
because I was saving this point for last specifically because I want to hear you guys gush about it. The Leo and Raph fight.
Of course.
Okay.
Of
Yeah,
course.
okay.
You can't go without talking about this scene, highlighting Leonardo as the biggest hypocrite ever. Now, hear me out. Somebody in call has, as Gosei from Power Rangers Megaforce would say, Super Megaforce.
There's a simple explanation for that.
So,
Okay.
I'll let you go ahead and give your simple explanation.
All right. So, okay. Obviously, I will say beforehand, like nearly like every time I see people talk about 2007, like there's always that one subsection of fandom that's like, oh, you guys talk, whenever you talk about 2007, you only ever talk about that one fight scene. And like, as you can probably tell from like how we've talked about the film thus far, it's more than just that fight scene. But in the case of Leonardo being like this self-righteous, self-hating vigilante, like this is a situation, this is like a criticism that I've seen a lot of people levy at this film a lot more recently. Not because of any particular video. But in terms of how they handle it, obviously the main like defense for that is that it was intentional, and I do feel that it is intentional because one of the main like things with Leo's character arc in this is him like learning to become a better leader to the Turtles, obviously. And we learn from, obviously, like the prequel comics address a couple of things that aren't actually in the film, and some people don't always like to resort to external media to explain stuff in the main films, but screw it, I'm gonna do it anyway. I don't care. Leo was meant to be on like a year-long trip across various different places until his last stop in Central America. But after finding out what was going on there and like all the different bandits doing like ridiculous like crime stuff,
Unforgivable things, I'll say that much.
unforgivable things that we cannot say on YouTube probably. But what is it? He sticks around for like an extra year. So he's been away for like 2 years of his life. So he is like full on like disillusioned from like the rest of his brothers. He's flat out surprised that Donnie even took up a tech support job. He expected him to be the one handling everything while he was away. And one of the main things he addresses to April is he does not want to go back a failure. That is his one worry of failing his teachings, which he ultimately does because of the conversation that Splinter has with Raph right after he gets taken away. Splinter brings up that 3 of Raph's qualities are that he's strong, passionate, and loyal to a fault. And those are good qualities of a great leader, but only when tempered with compassion and humility. And humility, if I'm just going off my notes here real quick, Leo flat out just does not understand humility in this situation, because humility, for those uninitiated, is the quality of having a modest or low view of one's importance. In other words, not telling your brothers you're better than them. So
I'm
you
better
done fucked
than
up,
you.
Leo. Literally. Like, that whole scene just goes to show that, yes, Leo has learned nothing from his teachings in Costa Rica were not about being a badass and killing cartel fellas. It was about learning to be compassionate with how he handles his brothers, not bossing them around like the big brother that is. Like, he's not handling it how he should be as a great leader.
Well,
so in a way, Raph is kind of right.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say this.
Raphael is right.
I'm not going to say where I stand on this argument here.
Okay.
I'm not going to pledge any allegiance to any side. But if you guys in the comment section below would be interested, would you want a live or recorded debate night episode for that? Let me know.
Oh, God.
Was Leo in the right? Was it a writing error? I don't know. We'll make that a debate night if you want it. Let us know in the comments below. But we're going to keep it pushing and continue talking about TMNT 2007. Thank you guys for being here. This is awesome. Where are we going next?
The dialogue of this movie.
Oh, yes. It's well written, honestly.
Yeah. My favorite line from one of the first scenes is Donnie when he's on the phone call. He's like, "I'm not praying hard to get this. Isn't the phone? This isn't a phone. This isn't the kind of phone line." And I'm thinking, who came up with that? Whoever came up with that needs a paycheck, because that's like the funniest things. Another thing too, I did like how they did what the Turtles are doing now since Shredder is dead, quote unquote, because how they did that with 2012 and 2007, it shows us what life is like for the Turtles since there's not a really big threat anymore, or an ongoing threat.
Or at least like the deepest, most personal one, yeah.
Every superhero has some downtime between like arch nemesis fortings, I guess.
I did like how you see the Turtles, going through their own stuff. Like, Mikey's is a little bit funny, Donnie is a lot funny, but Raph and Leo is just like more serious. Like, I like how Raph is more like the Batman of the team, and Leo is just like the natural, leader of the team still. But I did like how Raph is more a hero in this movie than Leo a little bit, in my opinion.
I believe, like, going on to like Leo's whole not liking the idea of the Night Watcher thing, he credits it to being like a showboating situation, like that this Night Watcher character is going around and only like doing this like vigilante gig just to show off, essentially. And I think like part of that is also rooted in like Leo's whole failure complex, I guess, in that like he still feels like he might have failed in like understanding his lesson, so he thinks maybe I can make up for it by taking on this new vigilante who's kind of acting all tough, and maybe stop him from going over the edge and going more lethal, because I believe the original script even cited that like, oh yeah, like the news described him as getting more dangerous and more lethal at some points, and that's like Leo thinks showboating is not a replacement for justice. It is just self-indulgence at that point. Those are like excerpts from like the original script from before. They probably had to edit it down because the Weinstein Company and it was a kid's movie. And
Visual style in this movie, since this is Road to Mutant Mayhem, I can see a lot of influence in Mutant Mayhem. Not saying it's solely from 2007. I feel like it pulls a lot from the 90s film as well, but I can feel a lot of that visual flair and, I guess, paying respects to what came before from this movie replicated in some aspects of Mutant Mayhem, especially in Leo. And a lot of the lighting and some of the scenery of New York. I really enjoyed that a lot.
Johnny and Mikey could have been cut and nothing would have changed. Like, Johnny does nothing. He only gets used as a background character.
Fair.
There are 4 turtles. This isn't the Leo and Raph variety hour. Why were they in the background when this movie is about a family coming back together to save the world?
That's a good point.
It is a byproduct of, like, honestly, Leo and Raph conflicts are very easy to write. And also because, like, they had been setting up, like, to do, like, sequels for this, which unfortunately never happened, where, like, Mikey was going to be this focus of the second film, and Donnie would have been the focus of the third film, apparently. But it's kind of unfortunate. Also, like, to comment on the animation briefly, the studio Amaji was like based in Hong Kong, and from what I learned from researching, they did not need to do any research into fighting for the animation, like not like what Disney would do, where they get live models to like choreograph everything, and then they just like sketch out or like animate it based on what they had seen. No, they just knew the stuff.
I loved the visual flair, just gorgeous. I love how
and the level of
look.
detail.
I want to throw up. It's so beautiful. I'm sorry.
Like,
I'm not going to go on for about it too long.
The entire jungle was fully rendered. Like, this is something that the director mentioned in the commentary, like that they fully rendered that whole thing. Like, not a single map painting in this entire film, and it's insane.
And it still holds up to this day.
Absolutely.
Like.
Yeah, one more point I really want to make sure everybody knows about, like, that battle when they're on their way to save Leo, and it's a one-shot take of all the characters fighting the Foot in the courtyard. and it's just all simultaneously one take as the camera pans through the action. Chef's kiss. That's incredible.
That, I think, I forget. I think the director said that took possibly a whole year to render. I am not entirely sure. Don't quote me on that.
No,
but it probably took
would not be surprised.
forever. We got to address the trophy room. Like,
absolutely.
The amount of references in there, and like it ties itself to multiple bits of continuity in Turtles, which I will probably have like a whole tangent about later on in this. But like, just to name off the stuff that's in there, like there's the ooze canister, you've got Shredder's helmet, arm blade, and staff from the original film. You've got a Foot Ninja mask from the original film. You've got Splinter's old robe from the original trilogy. You've got Lord Norinaga's armor from Turtles 3, as well as the Honor Guard armor and the mask and helmet. The Time Scepter, of course. A Triceratops space helmet, oddly enough.
Yeah, that was sick.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, and one thing I didn't notice, Walker's hat from Turtles 3 is tucked away in the bottom left in like one of the
Oh my god. Oh my god!
I'll have to rewatch that scene again after this episode.
Yeah, like just so many like references to past events, and it implies that there's a level of history to this particular version of Turtles, like beyond just like the director's claims that it is a follow up to the original 1990 trilogy, which
I guess
Turtles
just all universe with similar canon events.
I will go into that later, but yeah, the absolute confusion that was TMNT continuity in the mid to late 2000s. The thing with the Stone Soldiers is they very much suffer from Thanos' Black Order syndrome of like, they're in the movie, but they don't have their names said very often. Like Aguila's the only one, and it makes sense because he's the main guy, played by Kevin Michael Richardson, obviously. But like, you don't hear Gato's name, you don't hear the female one's name, and as far as I'm aware, the big chunky guy's name's not even in the credits, so I have no idea what he goes by.
Yeah, the Lady Stone General only has one line of dialogue. She only makes grunting noises before she even speaks.
So Karai, she and the Foot Clan don't have a lot to do in this movie.
Yeah, like they very much like, it's a situation of they're the muscle that helps, bring in like the monsters. So by all accounts, she's like external cast. Like, she's not one of the main players.
Yeah, she honestly could have been replaced with, like, Hun or something, and her role could have been filled like that, bro. Like, in all honesty. Not that I have anything against Karai. She's cool, but she really has nothing to do other than play background supporting character.
Loved her design. Yeah. Sick design.
Brilliant design. Yeah. I don't understand. This may just be my nostalgia bias and, like, the Billy and Mandy clip of, am I the only one who understands the complexities of this cinematic masterpiece of, like, like, I don't find the villain's plot all that confusing. When you break it down, it's like, it's these guys who wanted to conquer the world. They find out about this way of like getting to an alternate universe and tapping into some unknown power within it. One turns immortal, the others get turned to stone, and as a caveat, they have a bunch of monsters that get unleashed upon the world. Basically, what I'm saying is, this movie rips off the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. Like, it's not that complicated, everyone.
Whoa, what?
I actually didn't think about that. That makes total sense now.
Yeah, all it needs is Vincent Price and Flim Flam and Scrappy Doo, and there you go. Yeah, like I honestly don't see why a lot of people get confused by it. It's a very straightforward plot, and then like you have the whole thing of Winters wanting to basically send all the monsters back, rightfully so, because he realizes immortality is a curse. Only the Stone Soldiers, no time has passed for them upon being brought back to life. So it's like they still have the same core values of like, yeah, we still want to take over the world and we're going to continue it without you. So bye.
Bye, bro. They literally chucked him over a balcony and said, bye, bro.
Pretty much, yeah.
I really love the character designs. Like, Casey looks like his 2003 version in this movie. The 2007 Turtles, they look like a mixture of the Mirage and the 2003 TV show Turtles, and I just gotta say, the action with the characters look really good.
Honestly, it goes without saying, like, this film is like a graphic novel brought to life in terms of like just its design, from the shot composition to the movement. It's a visual treat, and I will always cite it as my favorite Turtles film, regardless of people's flaws surrounding it, such as for instance, and this is where I go into my last-minute tangent, the absolute confusion that was TMNT continuity in the mid to late 2000s. We've got the 2003 series that's currently airing around this time. It had some confusion with Fast Forward and Season 5 airing around the same time, and so people were confused as to what was lining up with what. You had the Mirage universe, which Volume 4 was still going on, I believe. I'm not as in tune with the Turtles comics around that time, so correct me if I'm wrong. And then this film comes out, and with multiple contradictions as to where it lands itself in continuity with other versions. So, like, the original poster used the 2003 logo, back when I think the mouths were a lot, like, wider for some reason. Like, early stage designs, obviously. And then the writer-director Kevin Monroe makes claims of, like, oh, this is a follow-up to the live-action trilogy, which, based on what we've seen in the trophy room, that's pretty accurate. But then we have several references to stuff from the Mirage comics, such as details that are brought up in the prequel comics of things that did not happen in those movies. So unless it's like alternate history situation, then that makes some level of sense. And then Shredder. You've got like 3 different versions of Shredder in this continuity. You've got the video game, which for some reason uses the 2003 version of Shredder. You have that one still of him in the actual film that kind of resembles comic Shredder. And then the toy Shredder, which was a very limited thing, which looks completely different to both of those designs. And then, of course, the 2003 like design elements. There are parts of the designs that are taken straight from 2003, down to how they are posed in some of the key art for the film as well. And even like the foot mask kind of resembling like the whole black mask with the red, eyepieces, kind of like a reverse Spider-Man in a way. And then, of course, Back to the Sewer, the 7th season, redesigns the Turtles to look closer to this film. And then TMNT Smash Up for the Wii and PlayStation 2, for people who remember that Smash Brothers clone game, they used the 2007 designs, but with the 2003 voice cast. And then, of course, we have the whole Turtles Forever separating it from the 90s film. And another thing with the canister in the trophy room, there's a strategically placed crack to make it so you can't tell if it's TCRI or TGRI. So it's like, where do you land continuity-wise? Are you Mirage? Are you your own thing? Are you the 90s movie? At this point, I accept it as its alternate universe with similar canon events in the same vein as like Spider-Verse, where it's like similar history has happened, but it's very much its own thing. And I'm tired of people getting confused by that. Anyways, rant over.
Well, that concludes the TMNT 2007 portion of the Road to Mutant Mayhem. What do you think about TMNT, TMNT 07, whatever you want to refer to this movie as?
Or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Immortal, as it was also called at one point.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah,
What?
that was going to be the original subtitle, I think, at one point. TMNT Immortal.
Well, there you go. A great piece of information, an extra little obscure nugget of details and trivia of TMNT 2007 to close off this episode. We have more installments coming. Next, we have Turtles Forever to talk about. So strap in as we continue on the Road to Mutant Mayhem. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
I've been Geekily, you've been awesome, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
Ciao,
Manga
everyone.
dudes.
Manga dudes.
I love being a turtle.